Good morning. It is 9:02 and it is time for this edition of the Weather Desk. We do this every Monday through Friday. We bring you today's top weather headlines, and there is a lot to talk about here. We had a major storm system come rolling across the country. It tore things up back in the Midwest Friday and Friday night around St. Louis. Saturday, it took aim across parts of the Deep South. And of course, last night and early this morning, folks are cleaning up from damage done from storms early this morning around 3 a.m. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. Let's get to our weather headlines. And again, from the Weather Desk, we do this each and every weekday morning right around 9 o'clock. So we're glad you found us here. We also have this information. We'll rebroadcast it on YouTube. A lot of times we share these live video feeds out there, but this is the best place to get it right here on the 13 News Now Plus app. So our headlines for today, as I mentioned, we've got an update on the storm damage from early this morning in Northeast North Carolina. We also have that major storm system which really ravaged several locations across the U.S. We're going to look at what's going on nationally. We'll focus on some other parts of the country as well. And then going forward, we're going to talk about fire danger out west, and then a nicer stretch of weather coming up for the mid-Atlantic. And I think after this weekend and last night, we're ready for it. I know a lot of folks ready for a little break. We do have some nicer weather to look forward to. But we're going to start off by looking at what may be confirmed to be a tornado. There was a tornado warning issued at just after 3 o'clock. And I've got this image. This is an image I went back and saved it. I screen grabbed that. There is a road right here, Longview Estates Road, and it's a mobile home community here. And there were several homes that were damaged. I think there were 7 different homes damaged along this street, and we're going to continue to watch it. But I wanted to show you, this was at 257, and you can see this area where there was this little hook along the line. Now, we're actually going to shuttle backwards and forwards, and I'm going to show you a lot more on this coming up in a few minutes. But I just wanted to kind of set the scene here just around 3 o'clock. And we went live as soon as the tornado warning was issued, and we stayed with it really all the way up through 4 o'clock in the morning, because after this tornado warning expired, there was another severe thunderstorm warning with a possible tornado that extended closer to the coast. So I've been on live since 3 a.m. this morning. I got in around 1:45 or so. Tim Pandagis, our chief meteorologist, and I handed off at that point, and we have had around the clock coverage of the storms overnight. And there's also been some other issues, some flash flooding. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Now, that was just the reflectivity, what we call radar reflectivity, where we show you what the radar's hitting in terms of precipitation. That's what you normally look at when you see the radar. You see, oh, the areas where there's rain, right? Well, this is a little different look. This is actually the velocity profile that the radar picked up. And I wanted to show you what was happening again at 257, and there's the street that was damaged with the powerful winds, all right? And you have this area here, these areas shaded in red, where the winds are going away from the radar site. Now, the radar site's off to the north, okay? That's up in Wakefield in southeast Virginia. This is northeast North Carolina. But we had winds going away from the radar site here, and these winds here coming towards the radar site. Now, I don't have it up on the map here, but I was looking. The winds moving towards the radar site at this point were around 27 meters per second. You go, okay, what's all that equate to? Well, that's like 60 miles per hour, and that's just one area that I clicked on. Winds moving that way. Winds moving away were more like, maybe 10 to 15 miles per hour. So you've got this going on at the level the radar picked this up, and down at the surface, it's possible with winds going this way there and winds coming here, you can see how there would be a potential rotation. Again, going back to that other thing, we're looking here again, maybe a rotation, a little bit of a notch here or a little hook along this, again, impacting this street right here. That was just before 3 o'clock. At 3:02, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning, and I followed this right on along, as I mentioned, for the next hour as it moved off to the northeast. Now, this thing was racing along. I will tell you, and we'll show you the path that it took a little bit later, but this thing, when it was moving through, was racing at about 60 miles per hour. There just wasn't much to it. It was just an area of heavy rain. It popped, and then it kept moving. just as quick as it was in, it was out. Now, it did do some damage down there, and Perquimans County officials confirmed several people were taken to the hospital after storms damaged multiple mobile homes. This is the scene of those damaged homes at Longview Estates Mobile Home Park. This is just off Woodville Road. Officials confirmed that 3 people have been taken to the hospital.
We had one child that was still inside of one of the trailers that we had to get out. We got her out. She seemed to have no injuries, but we did have EMS evaluate her and her family, and they were transported to the hospital just for evaluation. Then after that, we began searching the other trailers to make sure everybody was out, and everybody else had gotten out of the trailers on their own.
Dramatic situation there, and again, that we still have some folks that are being assessed at the hospital. We're going to hear more and continue to follow that. Jeremiah Beatty, you've been down there all morning. You started out early this morning, getting out, looking at areas of heavy rain, and as you went farther south and as the morning unfolded, you knew you had a much bigger story down there in Perquimans County. So why don't you bring us up to speed? First of all, now that the sun is up or it's daylight, what are you seeing down there? Let's talk about it.
Hey, Craig, yes. With this sunlight up, we're starting to see the extent of damage. I do want to say, though, scared, devastated, and shaken are some of the words residents in this community are using to describe their experience as strong winds tore through this area. You can see the extent of the damage right behind me. This home completely knocked to the ground. I'm told the homeowner here hid out in the back of this car as the storm system moved through. But another notable story that I want to share with you all is this trailer home right here. You can see it's just twisted, crumbled up here. And I spoke with the mother. Her 6-year-old daughter and her boyfriend were inside the time this storm system passed through. She says she felt the moment the winds picked up her home and dropped it back to the ground. Another notable thing to mention was her 6-year-old daughter was on top of a dresser, on top of all of that rubble. And when she looks back at this scene you're seeing here this morning, she's just grateful that they made it out safely and are alive.
Yes, I'm definitely blessed that we are here to talk about it, other than the fact, you know, the stuff is materialistic, it's replaceable, we can make that happen, but our lives is definitely something that we couldn't get back, so I am grateful for that.
And another thing I just want to mention, as far as people waking up this morning, seeing all this devastation, the community has really rallied together, helping each other pick up the pieces. You see behind me, these are neighbors, friendly neighbors that come out to help the family here as they try to come to terms with what's happened this morning. But it's just nice to see how they're rallying around each other during this difficult time, helping each other. As you know, the next few days will be cleaning up and finding a way to recover from all this. So we'll definitely keep an eye on conditions out here, but you can see behind me, it really rocked this community.
Yeah, Jeremiah, if you would, I know Roger is out there with you. If we could have him kind of pan off of you a little bit and just kind of show us some more of the damage kind of over or around. Give us a sense for what's going there, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about earlier, and again, we appreciate you guys being out there and being able to bring these images to us. You were saying kind of the randomness or the scattered nature of the debris. You're seeing stuff thrown,
Yes.
what looks like in different directions. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, Craig, the thing about this storm system, you can see, one neighbor I spoke to, you could see where something came through the backyard, knocking over her fence. It kind of went around one house that's standing there. You can see it's standing there like untouched, but the houses nearby it, next door to it, are completely flipped upside down. Then you have this one that's also by that house that's standing just untouched. You see here it's completely flat, and then it also, you can tell from where the trailer home here, where it's twisted and crumbled, something went over, the storm system went over across the street, and you can see the broken trees down there. So it's just really patchy as far as like the damage. There's a lot of homes that are okay, but there's also a number of homes that are not. I think we said 7 mobile homes were damaged due to this, but the residents where their homes have been okay, they've just been top of mind worried about those where their homes have been completely damaged. I know the gentleman living in this home that I said hit out in this car. He was taken to the hospital. He's okay, just minor injuries. Even the mother with the 6-year-old daughter, she says she had minor cuts and bruising from everything, but she's just happy to walk away from all of this alive. The good thing is a lot of these people were able to walk away alive, and they're just blessed for that.
Jeremiah, it is amazing to see these images, and I don't want to let you go just yet. You know, we had talked about kind of the randomness of this, and again, we're getting a sense of it with you and Roger down there now. You were mentioning some of the sturdier, you know, and trailers are always so dangerous. Any travel trailers or mobile homes, even they're fixed and sometimes tied down with heavy anchors, it's really dangerous to ride out severe storms in those things. Have you noticed on the more permanent structures, I noticed there was a house that looked like it maybe had a stronger foundation. Have you seen any damage to those? Any roof, shingles, any gutters or anything like that?
Yeah, minimal damage, damage. The one house that I'm saying, the neighboring houses were completely destroyed. Some guttering, little minor things outside of the home were completely destroyed. He did have a shed in the backyard that, and I'm talking about this house here with the yellow-green paneling on the outside. He had a shed in the backyard that's completely gone. But his home is still standing okay this morning. He also said inside this home, this resident, they hid out in the hallway away from all the windows. But one thing he did say, describe to me for certain, was winds out here were super strong. He could hear the whistle. He knew something was happening. He said it was shaking the mobile home here, but you can see this morning just minimal damage on the exterior of this home. But again, with the trees, you can see just how dangerous this community was right in the middle of it.
Yeah, some large trees there you could see snap. Now, Jeremiah, before we let you go, and again, you're doing a fantastic job, you and Roger, bringing us down there and giving us a sense of what's going on. Have you heard anybody even speculating down there? And the National Weather Service will come down and survey and look for a number of things. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But have you heard any of the firefighters or any of the emergency management folks down there rumbling about tornado versus straight line winds yet, or are they just going to leave it up to the Weather Service?
Right now, they're leaving it up to the Weather Service, but some of the residents I've spoke to feel confident that it may have been a tornado system that ripped through this area. Many of them said they woke up to the Weather Service alert and were really caught off guard just by the strong winds. Another thing I want to mention is the fact that many of them said when they heard the strong wind, after they heard the strong winds, things just got completely still and quiet, so eerily that they knew something was up. But many of them walking out this morning were just in shock to see all of this devastation around them this morning.
Jeremiah, thank you so much for being down there and joining us on the weather desk. I'm going to let you go so you can get more information. And again, the National Weather Service will be sending down a survey team. They're going to look at the debris, how it was scattered. They're going to look for different signs down there to determine the width, the length, if there was, in fact, a tornado there that caused that. And I won't be surprised to find out that there is. But if they do confirm that, they're going to measure the width and the length of the track, and all of that information will be brought to light. So Jeremiah Beatty and, again, her photographer Roger down there from Perquimans County, we really do appreciate that, and so grateful that folks down there, so far we've had no reports of fatalities. Some folks were still in the hospital kind of being assessed and working through that. But when you see any home or any structure, but those mobile homes especially rolled over and some of them twisted and some of the debris over on cars and things, you just think about what could possibly happen. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and say words of prayer that everybody does come through that in good shape. Now, I wanted to take you back to 302. This is the moment that the National Weather Service actually issued their tornado warning. And again, I'm going to zoom in and show you, this is the street right here. You see Longview Estates Road. That is where the storm damage, the wind damage occurred. Now, whether that was a tornado or straight line winds, we'll see. But you can see that was at 302, 303. That hook was already off to the north. That's how fast this thing was moving. It was there and gone quickly. So this is what you're looking at. And from there, it jogged forward. And again, I can back it up and just show you how, basically we were looking at some moderate to heavier rain. And then all of a sudden, you had this thing as I jogged back and forth between, say, 252 and right there. Let me pull this down just a little bit. You can see right in there is where that curl took place, and you get the wind damage. And then just that quickly, by 313, 314, I'm tracking this area back up around Gregory and Sligo, moving off to the northeast, and at that point, it was gone. So, you have an area of circulation, an area of great concern, and then just that quickly, it's out of here. I'm going to show you back, and I'm going to take this back a little bit to 257, and let me switch over to our velocity so you can see the wind speeds. And now I got to change up our time and take you back all the way back to when that occurred. And I'm going to go back to our 12-hour loop here. All right, so as I bring it back, let's get you through to about 250 or so. You saw some lightning strikes there. There we go. Okay, so the winds only go back 6 hours on this. I thought the loop might go back farther. But you see a little bit of a coupling right here. And what I'm talking about, again, you've got an area where you have winds moving in one direction back towards the radar site. And then you've got winds moving away from the radar site. And it's there that you have the potential for that circulation kind of going around in that direction, as you would imagine. So this, at this point at 320, it's not a tight, circulation. And it was just briefly there around that area where it hit. And we showed you that community that was impacted. By this point, again, that signature is much weaker than what we had earlier. And that was really the case. I mean, you got to jog back a little bit and you just go right before the start of this. But anyway, it was a little bit brighter signature just off to the southwest of Elizabeth City. And then at that point, it kind of broadened out and it just lost a lot of its punch. So that's what was happening last night. So what can we talk about here? What's going on? Well, we know, obviously, you just saw powerful winds with those storms that moved through northeast North Carolina. The National Weather Service is going to send out a survey team that will assess the damage today. And then that information, when they determine it was either a tornado or it wasn't, they're going to take that information, they're going to archive it, and it will be studied, kind of put into how they handle things going in the future. Like, okay, what do we see? What worked? What didn't? Could the algorithms have picked up on things sooner? It was a very quick developing system, and it was gone very quickly. But every time there is a confirmed tornado or storm system does damage like that, the Weather Service does a phenomenal job of studying what happened and then archiving that and making that a part of their future considerations going forward. So I did want to share that with you. And again, we'll look forward to hearing more from the National Weather Service and their survey team. We've got a wonderful group of meteorologists in Wakefield serving Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. They do a tremendous job, and I do look forward to hearing what they find out. Now, I want to talk to you about the enhanced Fujita scale. This is the way we rate tornadoes. And it's been upgraded. Some time ago, we went from the Fujita scale to the enhanced Fujita scale. It just has some more specific things that we look at when they go out and assess the damage. So let's run through this, and I'll give you a feel for what the National Weather Service is looking like. When they go to look and say, okay, was it straight line winds or was it a tornado? You have to ask yourself, are all, let's say, trees blown down in one direction, or are they scattered? If you have 2 or 3 mobile homes that are pushed over on their sides, they may have all been pushed the same direction just from straight line winds, just outflow from thunderstorms. In other cases, you'll have part of a trailer spun one way, another trailer might be rolled over, another one might be twisted back. Sometimes they can twist around. You have a different debris field, and some of the early reports that we were kind of getting from down there was it was a pretty scattered mess, as you saw some of that video. But the early reports coming out, there was a lot of scattering. So again, we'll let the Weather Service make the final call on that. But kind of early thinking is that there most likely was a tornado down there. Now, that's one of the things. They look for clear-cut edges. When you have straight-line winds, the damage field kind of tends to fan out a little bit, and it's sometimes harder to pick out real clear edges. There's a starting point and a stopping point, typically where a tornado touches down and lifts. Sometimes they hop along, sometimes they go down, and we have what we call long-track tornadoes where they're down, and then they go for a long period of time. All of that will be considered. And then you look for bizarre signs of excessive winds that are somewhat random. You might have the classic example is like a piece of straw or a stick that's stuck into the side of metal or into wood or something really, really bizarre, saying, hey, something picked up that debris and sent it with incredible force into this other object. You look for signs like that. And you may have total randomness where you have, something like that where there's really incredible debris and damage next to something that's almost untouched. And we've been seeing a little bit of that down there as well. So this is something that we're going to be watching for and waiting for the official word. Now, when they go down, they assess the damage and they look for signs and markers on permanent structures. An EF0, that's a tornado with winds of 65 to 86 miles per hour, typically minor damage to permanent housing or sturdy structures. You get power outages. I was looking, the power lines down there in that part of North Carolina, Perquimans, are above ground. So a lot of residents were mentioning they were losing power down there. Not a surprise. There could be damage to gutters, maybe shingles peeled off. There could be large branches broken off of trees. And we did see a couple trees that were snapped, so keep that in mind. As we look at the next level, EF1, now you've got moderate damage and you've got small trees uprooted, poles can be toppled over, and there could be broken windows. We didn't really see the broken windows in the houses across the street, but it's not to say that it wasn't possible. And we did see some larger trees that were snapped. So that was kind of an interesting thing as well. When you get into large uprooted trees, cars flipped over, things like that, now you're talking EF2 with winds of 111 to 135 miles per hour. Roofs can be ripped away from the tops of sturdy buildings. Obviously, with cars and trailers being flipped over, that would be a consideration, obviously, with those winds of that magnitude. EF3, severe damage. Now you're getting into entire floors of houses destroyed and buildings. You could have vehicles completely displaced where they're picked up or carried down or rolled down the street. Bark stripped from trees, and you get most of your standing objects tend to get knocked over. When you get to an EF4, now it's just complete devastation. You get extreme damage, 166 to 200 miles per hour. I mean, even an EF3, you're talking about a Cat 5 type of hurricane force with those winds in excess of 155 to 160 miles an hour, high-end EF3. EF4, now you're talking 166 to 200. And then, of course, at an EF5, the worst of them, entire homes swept away completely. And basically, that's the type of tornado that just erases neighborhoods. All you see are just scrapings of foundations and roadways. Most of the buildings are completely taken out. Fortunately, we don't typically see really even EF4s around here. Occasionally, a big tornado might get up to EF3. We've had a couple that have been up into this range, usually a little farther inland, north or south. And again, EF5s, that's really more in the Midwest and in those supercells that develop down in the south and into Tornado Alley a little farther to the west. So that's a quick look at the enhanced Fujita scale. Maybe not a super quick look, but a look at the enhanced Fujita scale, and that's what they're looking at. So we want to talk some more about this weather system, and I got to tell you, as we're looking at it now, the same system that came through last night was doing a lot of damage over the weekend back out to the Midwest. So let's take this map full, and what I want to talk to you about now, again, the progression of this storm system as it was rolling along. Again, a powerful system, and as we take a look at this, you can see it is clearing the coast. Things things are going to be much better for us. But many folks in the U.S. are breathing a sigh of relief since the storms have passed. This same system was making for a dangerous morning commute here in the east and the northeast, and it's the cause of increasing death toll after tornadoes and wildfires sparked across the middle of the country, all the way down into the deep south. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the details.
Overnight, the death toll climbing in wake of that dangerous storm system that swept through the heartland. Dozens of tornadoes touching down this weekend, leaving at least 40 people dead and carving a path of destruction across 8 states from Missouri to Alabama.
All she could say was, "Mama, her house is gone. It's leveled, and it's leveled."
Near Mobile, at least 3 killed. Anita Owens' mother among the victims.
You wouldn't think just a wind and tornadoes would do this much devastation.
Similar scenes in Mississippi. Our Ginger Z is there.
It's kind of amazing to think here at the Paradise Ranch RV Resort that no one was hurt. Many of the cabins were not occupied at the time. The manager tells us they are so grateful it happened this weekend and not next, when they expect more than 250 campers here.
In Georgia, a tornado confirmed west of Atlanta.
It sounded like a war zone.
All you heard were things flying around, hitting the side of the house, glass shattering.
The National Guard deployed to Arkansas, where an EF3 packing 165-mile-per-hour winds flattened buildings.
You can feel the pressure, hear the intensity.
Missouri has the highest death toll, with at least a dozen lives lost.
Something hit the side of the truck, just flipped it over and blew up.
This man rescued his aunt after her home was leveled.
She was trapped in that bedroom, only room standing left of this house. She was trapped in it. We got her out the window.
Winds from the same storm system fanning wildfires in Oklahoma, leaving at least 4 people dead and 400 homes damaged. This man playing the bagpipes outside his home, lost in the fire, vowing to rebuild. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
It's just incredible to see that much damage. And I can tell you, as we look back into the weekend, Friday night, I was on the phone. My family is back in St. Louis, and I was taking a look at the radar and talking to them. I had 4 different clusters of family in different parts of the St. Louis metro area, all down in their basement. And there was one area where there was a tornado, and I very clearly was able to track it and give them advice on where this thing was. It was about 1.5 miles north of my brother-in-law and one of my nephews. My brother and his family had another tornado pass south of their place by about 4 or 5 miles, so they were all around. Fortunately, everybody made it through in great shape, but this has been a very, very destructive system. And again, this is the same one that eventually came through and impacted us here in Hampton Roads. Now, while we did have that destruction down in northeast North Carolina, the big concern, honestly, early this morning was from all the heavy rain. There were multiple flash flood warnings. We had that one isolated destructive storm that we've been showing you, and we've been on that all morning. But going into it, last evening and early this morning, it was widespread, very heavy rain. And we've got some video to show you out of parts of Chesapeake where roads were covered just from the heavy rain. We're talking rainfall coming down at a rate at times 1.5 to 2 to 3 inches or more in some spots per hour. And you can see this flooding pictured here from Angela New. She's actually one of our sales associates here, the sales manager at 13 News Now, and she took time to shoot that video. And she's got a truck and 4-wheel drive, and she's going down her street, which was covered with that water there. So I appreciate Angela taking time to share that. But this is an example of the heavy rain, and we did have flash flood warnings for the peninsula for much of the morning. So just wanted to share that with you. All right, now we got to talk about the other issues going on. We have wind alerts out across parts of New Mexico and Texas and Oklahoma, the panhandles there, back up into Wyoming, several areas with high wind warnings. There's high wind watches and wind advisories out west. There's also this elevated fire danger and red flag warnings from Texas through New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and then parts of Florida, Central and South Florida, also with red flag warnings. So plenty to watch here in terms of the weather. We have the overcast conditions, what we're going to find as we check out the Thompson Creek Creek Window Company. Skies are going to be cloudy for a while, still breezy, winds gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour for a bit this morning. Eventually, things are going to wind down. Tomorrow morning, still a little bit windy with those gusts, 25, maybe 25 to 30 in a few spots. But by tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, the winds will calm down. All right, yesterday's high was 73. That set the stage for those stronger storms and the heavier rain that came. Once we got past midnight, we had more heavy rain across the area. Looking forward, there is better weather for us. We're going to find more sunshine. Temperatures a little cooler, obviously not 73 like it was yesterday, but it is cooler. We warm it back up by Thursday, and then another push of cooler air, beautiful into the weekend. Out on the water, small craft advisories are up for the Bay and the ocean. The one for the Bay was set to expire, but the marine forecasters have extended that because of the winds and the waves. Tree pollen is low, mold is low. That's your allergy report. And as we take a look at the forecast, the rain showers that are out there will be moving out, and we're going to see gradual clearing by late afternoon and into the evening. So in Hampton Roads, we'll look forward to a lot more sunshine for your Tuesday. Beautiful temperatures back in the upper 50s to low 60s tomorrow. And then as we get into Wednesday, it's going to warm up again. As we get into the afternoon, we'll see 60s and even some low 70s. It's going to feel great. All right, our temperatures today, we've already been in the low 60s. We're going to be in the mid to upper 50s through the afternoon. Still dealing with a few showers out there, but things will be improving. Off to the north, upper 50s and low 60s for northeast North Carolina. Again, showers won't be lasting too much longer, so folks trying to clean up from this morning's strong storms and the winds, they'll have better weather for it later today. Tonight, skies mainly clear, much cooler. Tomorrow, back up to 60, sunny, breezy in the morning, and then improvements late in the day. As we look forward to Wednesday, we start to warm it back up. As I mentioned, 60s and low 70s, into the 70s on Thursday, some more scattered showers. After that, Friday, breezy and cooler, beautiful into the weekend. Really looking forward to that. Let me remind you, you can always stay close to our forecast. Get those weather alerts as soon as we get them here at the station. We send them right out through our mobile app. So here's what you do. Scan this QR code that you'll see on the screen, and you can download the 13 News Now mobile app. It is a great way, the best way to stay in touch with our forecasts and updates. You can access the radar, and you'll know when we do special live streaming, you'll get it streamed to your phone as well. Again, that's what we were doing this morning. From the time they issued that warning early this morning, I was on, and we were on all the way up to 4 o'clock. We normally start our 13 News Now daybreak at 4:30, but we got it going a half hour early to bring you coverage of what was happening down across North Carolina. It was that important. So again, we started early, and you will always have access to that when you check out the 13 News Now Plus, where you're finding this live streaming, and also on our mobile app. All right, hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk, today's top weather headlines. I'm looking forward to some nicer weather over the next couple of days. Hopefully you'll find it where you are as well. And be sure and join me again all this week, Monday through Friday. We're here every morning at 9 a.m. with more from the Weather Desk.